Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another video. It's actually Christmas Eve. Joanna's asked me to leave the house for a couple hours. Not sure what kind of sorcery she could be up to. Kind of hoping she's wrapping up one of the new Sony cameras. That way I don't have to make that video. Is the Sony A7RIII still good enough for landscape photography in 2021? That'll save me some time. But I'm not here to do landscape photography. You know, every year, December, January, February, it's kind of the dry season. It's the dry season and it's raining. It's technically the dry season here in Florida. It just becomes a bit boring. I get a little bit bored with photography, and I need to find a way to stay motivated and keep my skills sharp. So I come down to my local train tracks here, and I like to shoot light trails with the train going by. It gives me a chance to practice my long exposures, some low light focusing techniques, and yeah, it's just a blast to do, and you know, it kind of keeps me motivated to keep getting out there and keep shooting. Now, I've wanted to make this video for a while, and I've just absolutely struggled on figuring out how to do it because it's a nighttime thing. So, you know, I was down here a couple weeks ago shooting this, and you know, it just didn't work in the dark, obviously. So I think what I'm gonna have to do today is do all my vlogging and waffling on here while it's light, and then I'll take my pictures afterwards, and I'll put those up on the screen for you to see later of what I got after it becomes dark. Now, I think this is just a passing shower. I'm not gonna get my camera out until this does pass, but yeah, the dry season. I love the rain though. I love to be out in it. This is actually part of a cold front that's moving through, and it's supposed to be the coldest Christmas day that we've had here in South Florida in the last 25 years. So we're gonna have a high of about 59 degrees, which I think is about 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. And we're gonna have a low on Saturday morning about 40 degrees, which I believe is about 4 degrees Celsius. So yeah, definitely gonna make it feel just a little bit more like Christmas, because it never really does feel like Christmas in South Florida. So while I'm waiting for the trains to come by, I wanted to give you a few tips of things that I've learned over the years about this kind of photography. And one is to stay away from the tracks for obvious reasons. Safety first. I'm gonna get away from the tracks. I was just doing that as a point. Some tracks are electrified, these are not. I think you can tell the electrified ones that have a thin third rail, and they'd probably have overhead power lines too. And if you don't know, if you're not sure, stay away. The other safety reason is I almost got hit by a train. When I first started doing this kind of photography, I was facing one way, the train was coming towards me, I was facing that way, and there was another train coming behind me. I was about 3 feet from the track. Never heard the one coming behind me because they were passing at the same time. Yeah, and since then I've never gotten near the tracks again. Scared me to death, and actually frightened the sense into me. Okay, so tip number 2 is to definitely use the sturdiest tripod that you can possibly have. Now, a couple different reasons for that. As that train passes you, it's going to pass at anywhere from, I don't know, 30 to 125 miles an hour, depending on what country you live in. And as it passes, it's going to create its own wind, and that's going to shake your camera, shake your tripod. So you definitely want to have a sturdy tripod and secure it as best as possible. Also, the second reason is because a lot of train tracks kind of make for like a little wind corridor, kind of a wind tunnel. And even if there's no train passing, like right now, I'm getting wind straight up from the south right now. And it's definitely heavier here than it was when I got out of my car. So definitely have the sturdiest tripod you can possibly have with you. Another safety tip would be to maybe bring a friend with you, you know, or two, you know, because train tracks aren't always in the most desirable locations. They're always kind of secluded. This place where I'm at right now, it's pretty safe. The town I live in is pretty safe, but once the sun goes down, it gets completely pitch black in here. If there was somebody in these woods here watching me right now, I would know once the sun goes down. So yeah, safety in numbers, and you know, if you're unsure of any way, just bring somebody with you. You know, it's always fun to shoot with somebody else anyway. All right, so tip number 3, you can definitely use neutral density filters doing this. I prefer not to. I prefer to wait till it gets dark. The images seem much sharper, and it's more of a nighttime thing anyway. You can definitely get some streaks during the day, and I'll show you some up here on the screen here in a little bit. But yeah, you're looking for the bright colors and that, so you definitely want to wait till it's dark. So, you know, I don't ever use ND filters when I do this kind of train long exposure photography. Tip number 4 is just a personal preference. I prefer to shoot the train with the headlight not facing towards the camera. So if the train was coming this way, I would have my camera face that way. That way I don't get that bright white headlight that kind of blows out the rest of the photo. So I kind of, depending on which direction the train's traveling, I turn my camera basically to face that direction that the train is traveling. All right, another thing is to choose your trains wisely. Not all trains photograph the same way. You're definitely looking to photograph a passenger train, one that has a lot of windows and a lot of lights. And the longer the train, the better, really. Freight trains, cargo type trains, those kind of things do not photograph very well because really the only light they have on them is that front headlight on the engine. So definitely know what kind of train you're looking to photograph. Okay, so I should have my first train coming by here in a second, which leads me to my next tip. Definitely try to get a copy, or, you know, like on your phone, be able to find a copy of the train schedule. And that way you know from which direction it's coming. Actually, I think I have 2 trains coming within a few minutes of each other. I think the first one's gonna come around the corner under that bridge this way. And I think I see one way down in the distance already. It's not really light enough to do some long exposures yet. I'm gonna have to take those about an hour from now after the sun sets. But yeah, it's definitely always a benefit to know when your train's coming. That way you can adjust your settings to be ready for the shot. All right, I have a train coming from the south here. I'm gonna step away for a second as it goes by so you can see it. Now, a lot of times the train drivers some of them are cool, some of them are not. If they see you, they might give you a little tap on their horn. Other train drivers like to really lay on the horn, and it absolutely just scares the crap out of you. All right, so I think one of the most important tips is to set your focus early. There's not a whole lot of lights around me where I'm at right now, so as it gets darker and darker, it's gonna be harder to find a spot to focus on. I want my focus to be somewhere around that white marker right there, because the train's gonna be passing me right here. That's when my streaks are gonna be the biggest. So I want all this as sharp as possible. Now, if you're in an area like I'm at that has a lot of trees, as that train passes, it's gonna blow the trees, and you're doing a long exposure, so your trees are gonna be out of focus anyway. Not really the point in this kind of photography. You're just trying to capture the best light streaks possible. Now, another thing that comes down to personal preference is how long you want your exposure for. I like my exposure for as long as possible, usually 30 seconds. Obviously, this time of day, I'm not gonna get it. But the reason I want 30 seconds is I want that exposure to capture that light streak all the way from here, all the way down to that bridge, maybe even down around that corner. Now, I've shot here before, so I know it takes about 20 seconds for that train to get from here down to that bridge, so that gives me more than enough time. So I fire off that shot just before the train comes into view. That way I get some of this stuff sharp in my shot too, and then it captures the light streak as the train goes by. The other reason I like a long exposure, if I have some good clouds like I have today that are moving kind of quick, it's just like taking a long exposure anywhere else. It's gonna really stretch out those clouds and give you another cool effect for your photo. Now, something else that it comes down to personal preference is whether you shoot in horizontal or vertical orientation and what kind of focal length you use. Now, as far as focal length, I prefer to shoot as wide as possible, like between 16 and 20 millimeters. That way, again, if I have some good clouds moving overhead, I can capture the movement of the clouds in my 30-second long exposure. Now, as far as what orientation I'm shooting in, for YouTube, I'm gonna shoot this in horizontal. That way it looks better on the screen for you, but if I'm gonna post to social media, I definitely prefer to shoot in vertical orientation. So the one challenging thing with this kind of photography is just definitely a waiting game. I'm waiting for it to get dark. I'm about 5 or 10 minutes past sunset here. I'm at f/22 ISO 50, and I'm only at 1.3 seconds right now. I have a train coming by here in a few minutes. I'm gonna try to get a shot, but at 1.3 seconds, it's gonna be a really short streak, and I don't think those look very good. Then I'll have another train coming about 7 minutes after that, so it should be quite a bit darker. So I'm trying to get that second train to about, I don't know, 10 seconds to really get a decent looking streak. Ultimately though, I'd like to be at 25 to 30 second exposure to capture the streak all the way down the tracks. All right, so I have a train coming right now, 6 second exposure. Shot. 2 trains. See, I never even saw the second one. But you know what? It didn't come out because it's not dark enough yet. Again, it's a waiting game. Now I'm gonna have to wait another 15 or 20 minutes until the next set of trains come by. See, I told you it's a waiting game, but again, it's so much fun. I didn't even see that second train coming. I was so focused on the one that was coming from this side, I didn't even notice the one coming from back there. Again, that's why you want to stay off the tracks. Safety first. All right, guys, so if you've never done this kind of train photography before, catching the light streaks as it goes by, I hope these tips help. Hope it's something that you might want to try out if you haven't done it before. It's a blast. It's an absolute rush. It's a challenge too, because you only have one shot to get it right as that train goes by between 30 and 125 miles an hour. So it really helps you practice your skills as far as setting focus in low light situations and adjusting shutter speeds. And yeah, it's just an absolute challenge. It's a blast, and it's something that helps get me through the doldrums of the long winter months here in Florida. All right, guys, so I'm gonna sign off for tonight. It's starting to get dark, just past sunset, and I got some trains coming, so I'm gonna focus on getting these shots for you. I'll put those up on the screen here at the end of the video. Let me know which ones you like. Let me know what you think of this kind of photography. And if you're new to my channel and you're watching for the first time, I hope you enjoyed what you saw. And if you did, hit that subscribe button. I definitely love you along for the landscape photography adventures. And I promise this is a landscape photography channel. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate all your support. Have a great week. Everybody stay safe out there, and we'll see you again next Monday. Thanks, guys. Bye.